Right. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is July 14th. This is a regular board meeting of Independent School District 832, the Mahtomedi Public School District. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call of attendance.
Paul Donna.
Here.
Julie McGraw.
Here.
Kevin Donovan. Lucy Payne.
Here.
Stacy Stout.
Here.
Turn up the volume. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. Now we need to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Julie, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote by roll call.
Paul Donna.
Aye.
Julie McGraw. Aye. Kelly Regan. Aye. Lucy Payne.
Aye.
Stacy Stout.
Aye. Motion is approved. Now we need an approval for the consent agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Julie,
Second.
seconded by Paul. Any discussion? Oh, okay. All those in favor, please vote by roll call. Okay.
Paul Donna.
Aye.
Julie McGraw. Aye. Kelly Regan. Aye. Lucy Payne.
Aye.
Stacy Stout.
Aye. So next is the discussion of the board member calendar. Okay. Anything to call out from anyone? Summer. I'm looking to you, Julie.
I don't really have anything.
Okay. All right. All right. I think we'll move on. No, you usually are able to pull out all the interesting bits, but it's summer, so. Okay, action items. We will move on the approve. Oh, can I get a motion to approve donations and grants? Moved by Kelly,
Second.
seconded by Julie. Do I have a motion do we have discussion for the donations? All those who vote for approval of donations and grants totaling $26,283.95. Please vote by roll call, but first I need to read. All donations and grants are greatly appreciated. The use of these funds will be to further the mission of the school district and are used towards the wishes of the donor.
Paul Donna.
Aye.
Julie McGraw. Aye. Kelly Regan. Aye. Lucy Payne.
Aye.
Stacy Stout.
Aye. Motion is approved. Okay, now approval of policies.
Yes, so this is our third reading of these policies, the 200 series. And we have heard, there are a couple policies that we talked about at our last meeting and are coming up again. So I think it's worth having a conversation again. So we talked about, the two that I suggest that we talk about are 203.2 and also, was it 208? I'm sorry. 208, just to kind of come back to those two. So I don't know, do we want to, are there any others that you had questions on since our last meeting?
No, my question.
Okay, so should we start with 203? Is that okay? And Patrick, would you mind pulling that one up? Thank you. So at our last, and everyone can jump in, I just thought I'd bring up again what it was that you talked about at our last meeting. We had just come off our board development session, which included our attorney during that time. And we did talk about this policy in particular. And we talked about, and we shared at that time too, but I've heard it referenced a couple times, so I'll just kind of recap. We talked about, in particular here, the instance that happened over 5 years ago, the instance that kind of led to the change in the policy, or the change into where public comment appeared at the beginning of the meeting. And it was a situation that happened where a student was, I don't know, what can I say, verbally attacked or called, I don't know. There was something that happened that was videotaped at that time. So the thing I think maybe we didn't articulate as well is that at that time, the board contacted MSBA and the attorneys and said, you know, this happened. What's your recommendation for us? Because now we have it on videotape. Do we take the whole, like, can we just take out that part? Do we take down the whole video? Right. So I would want people to know that it wasn't just the instance that drove it that direction. It was the instance that provided the consultation with the attorney who said, based on these experiences in other districts as well, this is the recommendation, which is what we heard during that.
And Barb, I would just like to add that this was not an isolated incident. It happened many times, and it just happened one time where a student was attacked publicly. But many staff members were attacked publicly repeatedly in ways that we could not stop. And we called the police many times. I know I called the police at least 6 times for people that wouldn't leave the podium and stop disclosing private staff data. It was a real problem, but when they did it to a student, we said, that's it.
That's helpful. And again, you know, just to kind of recap what we had talked about at our meeting another time. Another thing to know is that there have been districts whose board meeting videos have been taken off because they have been taken down completely because of this situation with things being said at board meetings that were taped, that had been videotaped. So there is, you know, there's what we experience here in our district, and then there's a broader context as well, which is why the board talked about continuing to not. So this decision was made years ago. The board has had the discussion last time to make clear that why why we would want to continue to have it the way we have it right now. So it's not, and so I'm sorry for those people who had the message that we were eliminating the ability to talk to the board. That was never the intention. In fact, the board's talked quite a bit about increasing those opportunities. We'll talk a little bit about that. But it's always been the case to keep the time to address the board, and it's just updating the policy to align with the practice that's been happening for I don't know, someone said 5 years, for a while now.
Barb, can you just
Go ahead.
reiterate that? Because I think there were some comments or concerns and messages we got that we're eliminating this time to address the board, and it will be exactly as everyone was able to address the board today. So I just want to make that very clear that it will not go away.
That
is
was
remaining.
always intended to be, and that's what was talked about last week as well. So that is still there. Mhm.
And then we've already said as a board, I think it was 2 meetings ago, that we're adding as a way to have a more meaningful engagement because of this is our business meeting. So we don't have an engagement back and forth because just like a board for a company or a nonprofit, it's the business meeting to get it done. So I'm just want to also remind everyone on record that we talked about having listening sessions. I think it's really evolving into something called engagement sessions. And I think we'll be getting those on the calendar. And I think that'll be out in a.
Yeah, so I'm just sharing this with the board for the first time too. We had a training, an engagement session, I'll just call it a training today, where we as an administrative team and district leadership team talked about how could, like what are the components and starting to put together dates, because this was something that you had asked for to really kind of outline all the engagement opportunities for families and community. And so with our principals today, we started working on that so that we would have something for you in August to share as a proposal for what that could look like in dates, and then you could respond to that, because that was something that you had requested of us. So.
And if I can just add a little more, because I think it's really important that we highlight it right now, because I think from what we've heard from a number of people is that they want to be able to express their concerns or what's going well with, they want to be able to come to the board and share that. And I think we've come up with a really good plan to go beyond just a comment to the board before a meeting. We've come up with this plan for there to be meaningful engagement. So I think we're being really responsive to the families in our district. Kelly?
I would like to add that, I really appreciate the conversation in this, that we've had a lot of feedback from the community. I think that it certainly has not been easy, nor will it be easy moving forward. I don't know when we're ever going to be post-pandemic, so I don't really know what that is, but I feel as though some things happened during the pandemic, but when I read this policy, it reads as though we were following the practice that we are currently doing. And that I'll speak personally, I'm not going to say we, I'm going to speak personally that I believe in transparency. I believe in hearing from the public, hearing from our community members, hearing from the teachers, hearing from everybody who is a part of Mahtomedi schools. And we've had a lot of conversation about how to continually grow and continually get better at that. And I don't read this policy at all as a change or eliminating public comment like Superintendent Dufferin is talking about. I read this as that we are following the practice that we are currently doing. As someone who's worked in education my whole life, the question I maybe would have for you, Barb, would be, what would be the reason to not record this? Because I believe we talked about this at our last session, and Julie kind of talked about a little bit about it. I guess where I'm going with this is I see that there's two sides to it. If I'm at a baseball game and I want to watch public comment, that's fantastic. However, if that's live streamed, then there's things that are out there for the public to see, that if there was something that was said that was inappropriate. If it was recorded and not live streamed, then nobody could watch it live, and then we could watch it later. And then if there were pieces taken out that was inappropriate, I'm just wondering, I don't know that there's a perfect practice. We're using the technology to our advantage here to be able to offer a live stream. I also think, though, that respecting student privacy and teacher data and is incredibly important in education. And we live in a world where security and privacy has gotten a little bit out of control, in the fact that, Google follows me around and Facebook follows me around and knows what I've been talking about. And all of a sudden I'll find ads for things on my, and so I want to respect both of those. And I love the engagement sessions of hearing and having a constructive conversation and dialogue with the community. So I guess the question I have, I'll go back to that, Barb, is what are the reasons why then to not record this, other than maybe something we've already talked about? Is there anything else, or have we hashed this out a number of times?
Well, I don't know. You tell me if there was something else. And Patrick, would you mind taking down, unless someone wants to point out anything in this agenda, because we can't see Lucy when that is up, and we can't see if she is neat. So sorry, we weren't able to see you when that screen share was happening. So I don't know. Was there something else you had a question about?
No, I
sorry,
guess
I
I'm
don't know
feeling
the
like, I feel like I have a lot of information, and I guess what I'm confused about is the misinterpretation of us not having public comment. That is not the intention whatsoever to change any practice. And in fact, we've been talking about how to grow and continually add more opportunities for the public to be involved in dialogue. Is that correct?
Yep, that's all. Yes. If you're asking, yes,
Yes,
it is,
'cause-
Kelly. But
okay.
yeah, I don't have anything else to add to that. Mhm.
And Lucy, I'm sorry, I couldn't see you, so I'm going to just call you out to see if you have any questions.
No, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. And then did anyone else have questions for Barb? Yes. Paul.
Madam Chair, tagging on to what Kelly was saying, as far as technology goes, and perhaps not necessarily a perfect practice. The intent in my mind is to live stream these meetings. I suppose one option would be to not live stream, record them, and if something went awry, then modify the recording, which I think could open up a whole other can of worms. So in my mind, I think the best practice is to live stream. And in my mind right now, we also have to be very sensitive to the issues that can arise from live streaming. And you've mentioned one that happened and mentioned previous incidents and incidents around the state in other districts. And speaking personally, when I first was going down this road, I saw, I really didn't see any harm in videotaping the public comment section. But after learning of the incidents, after learning of the potential and what we experienced and getting advice from council, frankly, in my mind, I'm not willing to risk compromising a staff, a student, a family, because all it takes is one incident. That's all it takes. And whether it be isolated or not, all it takes is one incident, and there can be a lot of damage done. And to me, it's that personally wouldn't be worth it for me to record public comment. So going back to also making it perfectly clear that what we heard tonight, I've heard a few things tonight, which is very informative. But again, going back to, by changing the agenda and how it, or changing where public comment occurs, public comment is not being eliminated. People are still always going to be welcome to come and address the board. Like people have mentioned, unfortunately, there's not going to be dialogue, but that is being addressed going forward. So we've taken, at least I have, and I'm sure everyone else has taken all this into account in evaluating this policy. So I'll stop there. But I just wanted to highlight, at least personally, where I was coming from with regards to public comment and recording.
But I just want to reiterate, there is no intent to take away anyone's right to come and speak with us at all. And that's just the facts. So just because it's not being filmed, the comments are to the board, and it is not a public engagement, but our sessions will be a two-way street, which is, I think, what the people want. So
I would even add, I think from families I've heard from when I've shared this direction we're moving so that we have more engagement for families, is it's actually a more comfortable setting. I know a few people might be comfortable at a podium and want to be on camera, but the majority of people, they just wanted to make sure that the board is hearing their concerns, and the setting that we are now going to be providing, I think really meets that need of what our families have been asking us for.
as a lawyer, can you give us the description of what our meetings are? Like the lawyer gave us.
Like I'm being tested, but I would say it's a business meeting to run the operations of the school district. And that's why we're here and
In the public.
in the public, which is where we are a little, we're distinguished from a private company board meeting or something else, but we operate just very similarly in the sense that we are here to ensure that the school is running well so that we're ensuring strong academics for our students.
And all of the business we are doing is in public.
Yes,
And we
absolutely.
receive many emails from people. We listen and we read all of the emails. And we talked about streamlining the email process more. I mean, I hope that that is something that's being worked on, and we're examining what other school districts do, but we're making the process better. And all we're doing is just cleaning it up from how we altered the agenda to reflect what our practices have been.
And.
Yes, Paul. Oh, Lucy.
I was going to say similar things to what Julie just mentioned, that the email communication has been fabulous from our community. And in fact, some of the changes that happened to policies between the first and second reading came from those emails from community members that Barb read and thought about and went in and did some additional work on to make changes. And so there are multiple avenues and times and ways the public can engage with us, which I really appreciate, because being not in the room tonight, I unfortunately was not able to be part of that public comment. But I did read all the emails that came to us prior to the board meeting, and having them written gives me more time to think and reflect on them compared to 5 minutes before a meeting starts or in the middle of a meeting, right? And so I appreciate the folks who take the time to write us those emails as well.
Oh,
Madam Chair, I'd just like to add, and to the extent there is a better mousetrap, and there are, other ideas that come forth. These policies exist, and they're living documents, right? We can change, make modifications at any point as going through our process. So, I would welcome other ideas if folks have ideas for better mousetraps, or if you learn from talking to other folks. Always looking for ways to improve things. So, and we can always make modifications to the extent we feel we'll make our policies that much more effective. So,
Madam Chair.
yes, Lucy.
Paul, building on what you've just shared with us, this policy is interesting in the fact that the way it's written, item B there says the school board may depart from the order of business with the consent of the majority of the members present. So the majority of the members present for the past 5 years have agreed to a different format. We have not been in violation of this policy, but then it goes to what Paul is saying. Should we find a better way, before another meeting, we could change the order of business at any point in time. This just gives us the guidelines that we're working under. So I appreciate that point, Paul. Thank you.
Two others that we at our last, so I'm sorry. So at our
There's
last,
been all kinds of collaborative efforts through MSBA, allowing us to collaborate with other districts statewide to hear what they've been doing, sharing ideas for the last 2 years with all the increased Zoom meetings. I mean, there's been opportunities almost every week. This has been a topic on Coffee and Conversations frequently.
okay, so policy 208, there were questions about this, and this was regarding 208 is regarding having access to school district policies, and there was some confusion about our taking it off the district's website, which was not the intent. So we fixed that. We talked about it last meeting that we would get that back in there. The discussion was we want to make sure that both someone who doesn't have access to looking at the district's website would be able to go into an office and ask for a copy of a policy. And then also it's on the school district's website. So I did make that change in the policy that we're asking you to approve tonight. It's updated to include that the manual will also be available on the school district's website, which was always the intention. So, so we're sorry for that confusion. And then, so I'm sorry, were there any questions about 208? Okay. 210, there was a question at the last meeting. We had a note to remind us to look at what the statute ended up with. Remember, it used to say 8 will not exceed. Sorry, let me read it again. So the school board member, I'm just trying to, the school board member who may be employed or continue to be employed by a school district, as long as that amount will not exceed $20,000 is now the updated statute. And this really applies mostly to those districts, those small districts that were having difficulty staffing. And and school board members were saying, well, we could fill that role. But then according to statute, they were unable to because they couldn't make a certain amount of money. So just so you know, we have updated this to have the current language in the statute, but then we also wrote in, so the phrase we wrote in will not exceed $20,000 or the amount allowed by statute in case that changes again. So that's the only change there. And it was just to clarify that. I don't know if anyone has any questions about.
I don't see any. Oh, Julie.
No, I was just going to say, I move that we approve this slate of policies as this is our third reading.
By Julie,
Second.
seconded by Lucy for approval of policies in the 200 series. Roll call vote, please.
Paul Donna,
I,
Julie McGraw,
Aye.
Kelly Regan, aye. Lucy Payne,
Aye.
Stacy Stout,
Aye. Motion carries. Next, approval of resolution relating to the election of school board members and calling the school district general election.
Yeah, so this is part of, excuse me, what we need to do every 2 years. And it's regarding the school board election in November. And so it's the resolution that you see in your packet there. And so we're asking you to adopt this resolution.
Any questions for Barb? Okay, can I get a motion?
so moved.
Moved by Kelly,
Second.
seconded by Julie. Roll call vote, please.
Paul Donna,
I,
Julie McGraw,
Aye.
Kelly Regan, aye. Lucy Payne,
Aye. Sorry.
Stacy Stout,
Aye. Motion carries. And now we move to adjournment.
So moved.
Moved by Julie,
second.
seconded by Paul. Roll call vote.
Paul Donna,
I.
Julie McGraw,
Aye.
Kelly Regan, aye. Lucy Payne,
Aye.
Stacy Stout,
Aye, we are adjourned.